Here's to the end of day 6 of our Zambia expedition, and the reason why I am no longer, I'm spoiled you see, no longer prepared to just take a Coolbox on expedition. It has to be a good fridge. Set at -3.
I'm Andrew St Pierre White, explorer, overlander and broadcaster with over 40 years driving 4x4s in association with Egon, game-changing simplicity. My take on camp fridges. My first was made by a company called Edessa. It had a burner at the bottom. You could light gas. It had a long tube up the back. You could also run it on 12 volts. It had no thermostat. It ran 7 amps all the time, and it made the food a little bit cooler than ambient. They were terrible. They were absolutely terrible. Then I was introduced to Engel, 40 litre. This would have been in about 1992, 93, somewhere around there. And now it was a revolution, because now you could have a compressor-driven fridge that would actually not use very much electricity and everything would be cold. You could have a cold beer or Coke on travels, and that was amazing. But the trouble is you'd have to turn it off at night because it would drain the battery. So then dual battery systems were introduced, and the way to charge those dual battery systems was for years absolutely terrible. You would find that all these companies would make these solid state DC chargers that just wouldn't work. The battery wouldn't get a proper charge. Some smart companies said, okay, well in that case we'll make it simple. We'll just do a simple switching mechanism to switch the battery, start battery off when the ignition was off, and therefore the fridge would then run on an auxiliary battery and not drain the start battery. The trouble is with them, every single one of them, and a lot of them were solenoid based, the voltage drop from the start battery to the auxiliary battery was so high that again the auxiliary battery would never ever reach a 100% state of charge. So you're now then working with AGM batteries or lead acid technology, which means you've only got 50% of the capacity of the battery usable anyway to begin with, because the voltage starts dropping and things start turning off once it gets to around 50-ish% of the battery capacity. So you're not giving it a full charge and it'll turn off when the voltage drops. It was rare, if ever, and I had many of them in my had systems in my own vehicle that I tried the solenoid systems, got rid of them immediately, and simply had a cable running to the auxiliary battery with one switch, minimizing connections all the way, and big thick cables, and minimizing that voltage drop using a switch. The standard of electrical installations in 4x4s, caravan, camper trailers is actually quite poor, and that is because of a lack of expertise and companies doing vehicle builds holding on to that expertise. That is no longer a problem because of the Egon DC Hub. It reduces build time, installation time, by over 75%. Difficult to believe, yes, but it's a simple unit that allows all of the batteries, all of the chargers, all of the accessories to be wired into one compact place. No need for a bus bar. And because no lugs, no heat shrink, all you need is a screwdriver. And you wire everything to one compact place. It saves a huge amount of space, and as I said, a huge amount of time. And you will get a first-rate, first-class installation every single time without the need for expertise. You owe it to yourself to go to egon.com.au, look for DC Hub. It will change your build and to possibly change your life. We got it to work. We persevered. Now with these fridges. Now this one is the National Lunar. It's my second National Lunar. I had one of their very first fridges. I tested and reviewed the National Lunar fridge. Right, this is the spot where we help you decide on which fridge to buy for your 4x4 or for your off-road trailer. These are the 3 best fridges probably in the world, but certainly the best 3 fridges
available in South Africa.
But these guys are one of the long-standing companies that had built fridges. They basically copied the idea of the Engel. They didn't copy it, they copied the idea of it, and they came up with a really, really good product.
A very fine product. Gets to temperature extremely quickly.
Low voltage, low current draw, I should say.
Very solid construction. Already has a good reputation for reliability and robustness.
And well insulated, well made. They are still probably the most, I haven't made a direct comparison, but certainly up there, most well insulated camp fridges available today. And their electronics and everything combined with that means that current draw wise they are excellent. This is fantastic, all right? But they're expensive. Is it worth spending that kind of money? Now, my history of this type of fridge, the modern compressor driven fridge, I've had a great deal of experience with Snowmaster, South African company, Chinese made. And they started, and their early attempts were fair. I had many of them. They have donated fridges to me for many, many years, and only recently has this stopped because they are no longer represented in Australia. But not in South Africa. My Africa troop carrier is equipped with the 66-litre low-profile dual-door Snowmaster. We're really happy to give me fridges wherever I need them, and in return for some feedback. And that was wonderful. I liked them very much. And what I liked about them was their value for money. They also had a remote. They developed a remote for it quite early on, where if for some reason the fridge was disconnected while driving, the little remote would actually beep a signal. And it's only fairly recently that National Lunar has put in an optional module that'll speak to an app on your phone. So I don't know, I haven't looked at it, I haven't seen, but the thing is that it's a nice idea, but when I'm in the bush, I don't really want to worry too much about my equipment. I like the idea that if something goes wrong, I'll get an audible warning without having to go into an app. That's just me. What has happened now with fridges is that these companies still make these very, very good products. Best on the market, but are they needed anymore? My answer is, well, not really.
While I'll now look at the current draw, remember it's not just current draw, it's how well the fridge insulates, which means the better the insulation will mean that it will turn on fewer times and run for shorter times during the day. That is also a measure of efficiency. Started at 3.5 amps, it's dropped to 3.3, little more than 3.35 amps. Started at 3.5 amps, dropped down and settled down to 2.4, 2.38 amps. So as I suspected, the Waco is the least efficient of the three, although at that amperage, that's not an inefficient fridge.
Overall current consumption might be higher on the one and less on the other. It could be even higher on the one with the lower current draw. So the tests, very few tests were done, and there were tests done over cyclic times. But it is true, the more expensive units are generally speaking a little more efficient on current. But I look at Engel now. Engel still make their fridges, but I think their company is completely stalled and stagnated. They don't do a double, they do a double compartment, but they don't do a double door. Double compartment means that you can have one as a freezer and one as a fridge, and you can decide which one how, all right, completely independently. Dual compartment goes some way towards that, but not entirely. They don't actually work nearly as well as dual compartment. So, and the Engel fridges have very thin insulation. They are extremely efficient when it comes to space utilization. If that's the critical thing, then because their current draw is still quite low, but their current draw over cyclic time is not that low because they have less efficient insulation when compared to, say, National Luna. Now, National Luna has very, very good control and very good insulation. So it's a very efficient fridge, but you're paying for that. It's one of the most, it might even be the most expensive fridge on the market. Two things. Firstly, when you wire it up, make sure that the cabling is thick enough, particularly if the fridge is in the back of the vehicle, you've got a long line from the battery. Make sure that the cable is thick enough and the connectors are good, solid connections. Often the cigar lighter doesn't work particularly well. Quality-wise, I don't think there is a better fridge maker in the world as National Luna, but they are not the greatest value by any means. And I'm thinking to myself, well, because I now have a problem here, this is actually too high for this space. I can't open this all the way when my conversion is closed. I can only open it some of the way, and I cannot get the baskets in and out, which is a real pain for packing. All right, so I need to get a lower profile. I would have taken the Snowmaster. I think it's a 65 or 67 litre low profile dual compartment fridge, which sits this height and allows me to open and close easily. No longer available in Australia, which is a real pity. And I now have to go looking for another one. Somebody told me that National Luna don't do one. I don't believe it. I have to look at that. If they do, it must be a new product, because I did look. But there are other products on the market that will work in here height-wise, width-wise, but none that have dual compartments. The Snowmaster one is the only one that I know of. So here's a challenge to you, please. If you'd like to write in the comments. Now, I know a lot of you will want to comment, but I'm going to ask you quite specifically here. Be very, very, very specific, please, because I would really like your help. It has to have dual compartment. If it's dual door, it does not qualify. There are plenty of dual doors that I know of. Don't need help with that. I need a low profile dual door 12-volt compressor fridge freezer of approximately anything between 60 litres and 75. Anything between that. So that's the criteria. If you could help me find one, I'd be very, very grateful to you. I have managed to get this action kind of automatic while I'm driving to grab myself an ice cold Coke from my centre fridge. It is, of course, also my armrest, so I am really in a lovely place to be. I can sit here all day. But here's the problem. This centre fridge I bought it from BCF online. It's no longer available. It's maybe the last one in the shop. It is an identical copy of the Snowmaster fridge, obviously made in the same factory in China. Identical, 12 litres, and its secret is that it is slightly under 200 millimeters wide. The 79 and 76 have a different floor plan to Troopy. Troopy, the seats are slightly closer together, which actually is nice because I'm slightly further from my door. My right leg, doesn't hit the door quite as much. It's only a small measurement, but I notice it. But the challenge is, though, I have got only 200 millimeters width between the seats. Any fridge that is wider than 200 doesn't fit in Troopy. I had the best console fridge I've ever had. It was the Bushman Roadie 15 litres, and I had it in my dream tourer. The best part about my interior is actually the Bushman fridge. It works with the Department of the Interior center console, and it is the perfect height, and it's 15 litres of ice cold drinks. That fridge ticked every single box, but it doesn't fit in the Troopy. So again, if you can help me out here, can you please, somebody, find me a console fridge? I don't care. This was really cheap. I don't care how much it costs. It cannot be 201 millimeters in width. It has to be 200 or less. If you decide to use your fridge as a freezer. Best way of making the most of it is that in the morning, take your frozen meat out, put it in your cooler box. It will then act as an ice brick for all your fresh food and drinks in your cooler bag, and by the evening time it'll be thawed and ready to eat. That is a very efficient way of using the energy stored within the freezer. As a possible alternative to very expensive fridges for overlanders and campers, I've been trying out this. It's basically a Coolbox with a fan. Now it works on the Peltier system. Basically it's a piece of electronics with an element, and if you connect it the one way, the element will go warm, the other way the element will go cold, and of course the fan blows air across it and cools or heats the contents. Now, is this really a practical alternative to a very expensive fridge? I mean, after all, this is 1/8 the price. I mean, these are not expensive. In fact, in some ways, they're a lot more versatile than a fridge. For example, this is very, very portable. It really is a Coolbox. And when I open it, I see in the top here, there is the electronics unit and a fan. And I just simply plug it into my cigarette lighter. Okay, and it's very portable, which a fridge, of course, fixed in a vehicle isn't, because they're so heavy and they're so bulky. But now, does it keep my nice Coke cold enough for my liking?
Set at -3.
Well, not really. It's cold, but it's not cold, if you know what I mean. It keeps contents cool. Now, the purpose of a Coolbox is to keep contents cool, and this does it very well. So, instead of buying a Coolbox, buy a Coolbox with a cooler fan in it, and while it's in the car, it will maintain its temperature. And of course, then it becomes a portable Coolbox when you go down to the beach or down to the river. In terms of it being an alternative to a proper fridge, nah, not really. That's my take on fridge freezers. I'm not sure if anybody should go and spend a huge amount on fridge freezers anymore. You could go and buy a Dometic. They're inexpensive, they're cheap. Heine's got a Dometic in his 76. He loves it. It's old. Still works great. Cheap as chips. These fridges have come of age. They've become, the early Dometics were poor. They were really not very good at all. Great product. So many really nice products for so much less than the top fridge makers. You want the best? Yeah. There you go. Get the best. If you want to spend less and spend the money on something else on your rig, go lithium batteries first. If you haven't discovered the freedom of lithium. Not an engine bay. That's not freedom. As an auxiliary battery for your rig, your life will change. Thank you. And if you like that, do me a favour, subscribe and click that little like button. It helps me out.